Joining us in the studio is David DeRoche. He's a professor at the Cairo Marshall Institute. David, I had many questions on the military aspect, but we're going to refocus, if you don't mind, on energy. Because just in the last few moments, Donald Trump posted on his Truth Social something that could end up being major. So I'm going to read off, again, this is all just happening in the last few minutes, so I'm just reading off a big screen. But to make sure all our viewers know what we're talking about, Donald Trump posted that he is going to now provide, he's directing the United States DFC, Development Finance Corporation, to provide at a very reasonable price political risk insurance and guarantees for the financial security of all maritime trade, especially energy, traveling through the Gulf. That's one, okay? Everybody keep that one in mind. He is going to provide political risk insurance for ships going through the Strait of Hormuz. Number two, if necessary, the U.S. Navy will begin escorting tankers through the strait as soon as possible. That's the second thing. And the broader point here, no matter what, the United States will ensure the free flow of energy to the world. Okay, David, Donald Trump clearly got the message that 20% of oil and gas goes through the Strait of Hormuz, and as of yesterday, day before, it was shut. That's 20% of oil and gas that is no longer getting to Asia, Europe, and the knock-on effect of all of that. He is seeing that, and he is responding, and he is saying one way or another, we are going to make sure that energy gets through the strait. From a military standpoint, any thoughts? Can it be done?
Yeah, it can be done. I mean, look, this is Iran's naval capacity is pretty much gone at this point. What you're seeing are harassment attacks, and shipping is stopped by Lloyd's of London. It's just that commercial shippers can't afford to buy insurance. So what he's basically doing is saying the U.S. government will step in as an insurer, and then in order, presumably, to keep our insurance costs down, we'll also provide the military stuff. Now, based on how President Trump operates, and based on the fact that China is actually the main importer of oil, I think he's going to turn around to the Chinese and say, you guys are going to bankroll this insurance. And then he's going to turn to our European allies who are now belatedly looking to climb on board with Trump's military act.
France is sending its aircraft carrier, we just found out.
Well, you know, now that the war with Iran it appears to be shifting in our way, they want to make a contribution so that they're not on his wrong side. Typically, whenever there's a military coalition in there, the European naval contribution is maritime. So they do have an excess of maritime assets, particularly for this commercial escort thing. They're not missile intercept ships. Those are in short supply. But traditional maritime missions against things like Revolutionary Guard small boat attacks, that's something that the Europeans can do very well. So the way I see this breaking out is the United States will provide insurance, but then he'll go to the people who actually receive the energy, and that's not the United States, and say, you've got to subsidize this, even though we're doing it through our good offices. And then I think he'll go to the other recipients who have friendly navies and saying, you're going to provide the bulk of the naval escorts.
But there are two reasons the ships don't go through this, that they might choose not to go through the Strait of Hormuz. One is if it becomes risky, and you outlined this, basically that drives up the price of insurance such that you have to pay so much more money right, to your insurers to go through there. You just choose to not go through there anymore. Donald Trump is trying to cover that angle you explained. The other one, the security one, really? Can whether it's the U.S. Navy or European Navy ships, they can ensure safety? I mean, we're just minutes removed from saying that the U.S. embassies really across the region, not just one country, but multiple countries are being attacked and taking damage. And you're saying that ships will be safe passing through this waterway, which runs right along Iran?
Yeah, I think within a matter of days. There's two factors to bear in mind here. The first is Iran is in sort of the dying phases of its ability to project power out there. If you look at the number of attacks, they've fallen off precipitously because the United States...
Did you see that today or yesterday?
Well, it's been going. I mean, if you look, for example, a good indicator is air raid signs in Israel. So it started off with 179 incidents, then it was 79 incidents, then it's 49 incidents. I think we're down to 24, even with Lebanon, with Hezbollah entering the fray. What you're increasingly seeing is small-scale one-off harassment attacks. So there is the possibility of that, but again, a naval force could deal with that. The second issue, though, is the United States and Israel have If they have not, they're on the verge of establishing air superiority over Iran. What that means is that instead of meeting threats with $1 million missiles, we're meeting it with a $20,000 gravity drop bomb. And
I don't understand that.
so instead of firing standoff missiles that are very expensive at a distance against drone strikes, things like that, which limits your ability to hit targets, we are in the position now to fly airplanes constantly or very closely, particularly now that the Gulf Cooperation Council states have been attacked. So presumably they'll allow bases to be established in their countries that are much closer. They don't have to fly all the way from beyond the region. We can keep more aircraft on station more specifically. When there's a threat, we have a cheap option, a gravity drop bomb from an airplane, instead of flying a missile at a distance.
So this is what the U.S. and Israel have said that they were targeting first, right? They were saying Iran's air defenses, and you're saying after 4 days, if Iran's air defenses are mostly knocked out, then you can have, then it's open skies for American and Israeli planes, and they can drop bombs.
So you see, for example, Iran shot down an MQ-4 drone, or MQ-9 drone, rather. They're doing that as a triumph. Well, that's known as the flying lawnmower. It's loud, it's defenseless, it's slow. You can see it everywhere. You can track it. The fact that we're confident enough to have these over there indicates that the coalition is establishing persistent aerial observation, and they'll have fighter aircraft and attack aircraft close enough that if they see something of interest, they can move there and react, not with an expensive missile, but with a cheap gravity drop bomb.
David DeRoche, we've spoken before, but it's the first time in person. We're glad to have you in Doha. Thank you very much.
It's an honor.
European gas prices.